Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out this special episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I'm here with my the regular crew. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Matt.
And I'm James.
And today we're going to talk about some of our favorite Kickstarters or other crowdfunding projects related to role-playing games coming out in August. And whew, we're cutting it really close.
Hooray, more ways to burn our money.
Yes, that's right. Things to throw money at. Okay.
All right, so I'll go first. My first book that I would really like to talk about is Bestiarium. I hope I'm saying that right. Bestiarium is Scales and Decay by ND Hobbies. It's 300 pages of new dragon and undead monsters. It's for 5th edition, you know, and I have to say that I wanted to bring this out. Probably the best book, one of the best books that D&D has put out in the last 2-3 years. I would say it's this book here, Fistman's Treasury of Dragons. It's a great collection of dragons, their habits, their layers, their stats, all sorts of great things. And seeing there's another book coming out with that much content, and the art is superb, you know, I'm really excited to see what this offers. Also, they have some interesting new rules about applying what they call draconic templates to monsters. So, you know, it's funny, in D&D, all the variations of monsters they put out in the 50 years they've been around, there's never been like a beholder dragon or anything weird like that.
Hell's wrong with you, a beholder dragon?
You're giving somebody some horrible ideas right now.
or an undead beholder dragon.
Witch. How much do you want?
You know, so now there's rules now that they made so you can apply that to make new monsters. So I'm really excited about the idea of this book. I definitely want to support it.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
So so James, what do you got?
Well, my first one is basically a 5e setting called Amethyst RPG. It's by DSX Machina Games. And recently they brought us, it's called Affinity RPG setting, also for 5e, and the spectacular Ultramodern 5 Redux, which came out a couple years back. So the quality of their content and their books are bar none. And Amethyst is something that their main creator, Chris Diaz, came up with back in the D20 days, and published. I could be wrong, but I believe he published it through Goodman Games way back when. So it's been cooking for a long time, and he's made multiple different versions across 3rd edition and 4th and 5th, culminating in this 3rd book for 5th edition called Amethyst Revelations. Which is the focus of the Kickstarter, but through the Kickstarter you can get all of the 5th edition books and plus a bunch of novels that he's written for the setting as well. It's a techno fantasy setting, so it's magic versus science. It's kind of a heavy feel, and it's like, I mean, with the 3 books, it's like going to be likely over 1,200 pages. So it's well thought out, and considering he's had since D20 was like what, 90s, so it's been cooking for 30 years, give or take. Oh God, that makes me feel old. And the art is fantastic, and like I said, the pedigree of their stuff is bar none. And so if you're looking for something a little bit different and kind of just like cool is the only word I can come up with, it's definitely something to check out. Amethyst RPG looks really, really sweet.
Okay, cool. So my first offering is a much smaller project than yours. It's called Origin Immortals, the tabletop role-playing game of the gods, zine edition. So what this is a small role-playing game where you and your friends create a setting. So there have been other games where you create a setting together, but they always kind of straddle the line of actual role-playing games. They don't quite feel like a real role-playing game, where you have a character and make individual decisions. So this game really tries to do that. And the way it does that is your individual character is a god at the beginning of the universe. And you and your fellow gods make decisions that create the cosmos. So it's a lot like Populous, if any of you have ever played that old game, that old computer game. So, yeah.
Make me feel old again.
Yeah, really great little game. So it's a turn-based game where you roll for points at the start of the turn, then you spend those points to interact with the world. You can create mortals, create demigods, make miracles and disasters and all that sort of stuff. And the game is played in 5 ages of the world. And, one cool aspect, they mentioned that when you're done, you'll have a fully fleshed out world that you can then use in another role-playing game.
Like that sounds really cool.
Yeah, you've created your world and now you can play with it.
I remember seeing that Kickstarter. It looked very intriguing.
Yes. So this Kickstarter is just gotten started, but it is fully funded, and it comes out in a zine edition, so it's not going to be very big, but it's not very expensive. For $5 you get the zine, and you get a PDF of the zine, and for $15 you get the zine itself, and the art looks awesome, and it's very ambitious, and it looks like a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I love the fact that you can take that setting and bring it with you in other places. I think
that's fantastic. That you make a world, and then you can make a cleric to Bob. That
Awesome.
Yeah.
So my next one is Demon Dog from Nightfall Games. That may be familiar to some of you. They're the company behind SLA Industries or Terminator the RPG. And this is an adventure made for Morkborg, with the idea that instead of being like heavy metal, doom metal inspired, this is punk music inspired. In fact, they call it splatter punk, which I've never heard that before.
Oh dear.
And sounds like the idea is that you made a deal with the devil and you're dead, and now you sort of work for the devil, and now you got to do all these missions. And it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like if you like Morkborg, but just want something that's a little tad different and kind of chaotic, and even more chaotic than Morkborg is. This sounds like a really, really fun book.
Okay, cool.
It does sound cool. Well, my next one, I'm moving away from the books and zines, as I've been like to do the last few times. Incubus Dice. As soon as I saw it, the first thing that sort of kind of grabbed me was Lovecraftian. I'm like, I've got to check this out. These dice that have been designed are they're advertised as non-Euclidean dice, so they're not they're not polyhedrons or whatnots. They're strangely shaped. They do feel very Lovecraftian, very Cthulhu-esque. And just for your dice nuts who want something a little bit different, and particularly called Cthulhu-type players, obviously, they've got a few different tiers. You can get just the STL files if you've got a 3D printer at home. You can get inked colored dice at a higher level, or you get hand-painted dice that they offer at their highest tier. So, which do look pretty spectacular, but are a little more expensive, obviously, because they're hand painted. But these just look so weird. It's like the kind of thing you rolled them on the table, people would stop and be like, the heck is that? So I'm probably going to pick up a set myself just because it's so different. It's so neat.
So are these? Do they roll true? I assume, even though
you make that assumption when you're buying dice. I'm guessing they do. They're made to be balanced like that. And so if not, then that's most unfortunate. But I'm pretty sure they're meant to be made that way. I mean, given how they look, like they have their structure that seem to make sense in terms of a logical randomness of where it's going to fall. So
okay,
yeah,
all right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, totally. No, definitely. Just like I said, just wild, just fantastic, just absolutely beautiful little dice, and it's like may never use them. I just may put them on the shelf and like, oh, look at those, they're pretty. So,
Well, that's where a lot of dice end up. That's great.
well,
I love dice.
yeah,
All right,
for the dice addicts. What else you got, Matt?
Okay, so my next game is called Nebula Chaos. It is a tabletop role-playing game of galactic spacefaring scoundrels and renegades. So this looks like a high-octane, brightly colored game. It looks like a comic from the 80s or the 90s. It's a wide open galaxy with the evil empire and the rebellion and the smugglers, googly-eyed aliens. It says, it makes a big deal of the action being cranked up to 11. So it looks like all of your favorite science fiction franchises from, the 80s or the 90s, just all crammed together and dialed up to 11. So I wasn't able to find out much about the system, but it describes it as being fast-paced and cinematic. So it looks like it's a lot of fun. It describes itself as having laser swords and psychic monks and space pirates and galactic marines and jolly robots. So it looks like a fun and easy way to get into a high-powered, crazy science fiction game. Now this
always like a good space opera.
yeah. So this Kickstarter has just started. Still has about a month to go. They haven't reached their goal yet, so give them a hand. And it looks pretty cool. Check it out.
Well, that in a similar theme, I also have a sci-fi entry to discuss. Waystar, an epic D&D 5e sci-fi conversion, and I'm sort of glad I stumbled into this project because Spelljammer for D&D 5e recently came out, and well, let's say I'm looking for other options.
I haven't heard too many good things.
You can get all of Spelljammer on Drive-Through RPG. Just a little plug. That's
true. That's true. But if you're looking for something that's inspired by like Mass Effect, that's where this project comes in. And Mass Effect is beloved by many players. So yeah, it's you get a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of options. There's a lot of classes, species. You actually get a bunch of books. They have their own creature codex, tons of like new alien monsters to fight. They have a galactic archive. They have actually a book just on settings and different planets, which is one of my gripes about the new Spelljammer. But you have to wait for a different video for that. Yeah, this looks good. And what's great about it also that it doesn't feel like Dungeons and Dragons in space. Yes, there's rules to if you want to bring all the races and classes up in space, but the way it presented itself, it doesn't feel like something. It looks like serious sci-fi, not just some their attempt to copy Spelljammer or another system. And it looks good. The art's phenomenal. It's definitely if you're looking for something and Wizard of the Coast did not fulfill your needs, but you want it in a 5e, Waystar may be the way to go.
Awesome.
That sounds interesting. Yeah. Well, my last choice is something again a little different, but sort of leans into because I'm a big fan of paranoia. I have a very strong sadistic streak as a GM. The one that I chose is called Hell Inc. the RPG, and essentially you play a character who has just become a demon in hell. And the concept is you are given tasks and stuff in hell as a demon to work. The sort of the twist on its head of the game is you don't want to either roll really bad, because if you do badly, then the powers that be get upset with you. But if you also roll really good, then you catch the attention of the powers that be and your other contemporaries. So the idea is to sort of just be as mediocre as possible throughout the entire game.
I think I've worked in that office.
Haven't we all? It uses a heavily modified, powered by the apocalypse system. And like I said, it just sounds like the kind of thing that could be just wonderfully sadistic in a very monotonous way, kind of thing. Like building on the concepts of like Office Space or anybody's office experience kind of thing, but using it in a setting of hell and being demons. So it sounds like a real hoot. It's got a wonderful cartoony art style, and part of the reward tiers include comic books that use the setting as their inspiration. So I would assume that the art comes either directly from that or is in the same vein as that. That's what it sort of looks like they're presenting. So again, it looks like something that has a wonderful sense of humor, and I would just based on my own feeling of it, if you like something like the kind of the wackiness of paranoia, or the wackiness that can be paranoia, right, this is going to be your jam. It's going to be the kind of thing that you do for an evening and people laugh for 4 hours straight and you have a great time. I'm buying this for sure, and I'm going to introduce my players to it, and I think it's going to be a hoot. So I definitely check it out. It's another one of the it's part of the whole zine quest thing going on right now. 32-page zine. Check this one out. They have. I really hope they have made their goal, which is great. But keep it going. They got like 23 days to go on it. 20 days to go, and it's this kind of original thinking needs to be rewarded. I think it looks absolutely brilliant and a lot of fun. So hopefully it's as good as it looks.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so how do you guys feel about board games? You guys big board game players?
I like board games, yeah.
For some reason, I'm always interested in those that deal with murder. I don't know what that says about me.
Because you're a terrible person. But we'll deal
Note to self. Note to self. No playing board games with Manny.
Exactly. There you go. So I like board games, but my problem is I love role-playing games so much that unless it's a completely abstract board game, I like the board games that feel like what they're supposed to be about, that kind of like feel like a board game. So, I mean, like a role-playing game. So I really like Touch of Evil. That really feels like you're in a haunted house. Betrayal on the House on the Hill. My all-time favorite is Last Night on Earth, which feels just like you're in a zombie movie. So what I've got here is Delving the board game. So this board game is, do you guys remember Dungeon?
Yes.
The exclamation point? Dungeon. Put out by TSR in 1975.
The magazine, or no, that was Dragon.
The board game.
The board game. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry.
The board game. So you're moving around a dungeon, I just read an article about that. That was made by someone who played in Blackmore, the Blackmore campaign, Arnson's game. So it predated actual D&D, and the idea was he wanted to create a game that kind of felt like a D&D game on the board, and it's pretty good. I like the dungeon. So this is an attempt to do the same thing. So this game is designed to feel as close to an RPG as you can get using a board. So you're delving in a dungeon. You've got 6 players to choose from. You've got a whole bunch of cards, which include you've got monsters, you've got traps, you've got things that can happen to you. So it's basically, let's explore the dungeon. It's a dungeon crawl on a board instead of on a table. So if everybody doesn't show up and you can't play a regular game of D&D, you can pull this game out and be up and running in a couple minutes. So it looks like it's fantastic art, and a great board, nice looking dungeon. The pieces are all 3D miniatures, and this is pretty cool. The game comes with an app that you can get on your phone or your computer, and through that app, Tim Cast reads some of the cards. Tim Cast
nice.
From TSR, reads up the cards and adds his little spin to it.
Oh, that's awesome! Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It looks
very cool.
Awesome. The game's got the Kickstarter has about a fortnight to go, and they're not even halfway to their goal. So let's hope they make it. I think part of the reluctance might be that it's kind of expensive to get the game, but not when you compare it to other board games. $70 gets you the full board game, but board games these days are pretty expensive. So if you like board games, if you like D&D, your players don't show up on time, check this out. So that's all the D&D. That's all the role-playing Kickstarters we have. But I couldn't really be part of a show that kind of promotes Kickstarters without promoting my friend's Kickstarter. So, college friend of mine is a big comic book guy, and he has he likes Golden Age comics. Boy comics is what he really likes. Boy adventure comics, particularly Crimebuster, which was a action comic from the 50s about this college student who fights crime, kind of a two-fisted pulp thing. So the characters entered the public domain, and my friend has brought it back. He's writing new stories about the character, and he's been doing this for a couple of years now. Now it is apparently the 80th anniversary of the original Crimebuster. So the Kickstarter is a anniversary special. It's 100 pages, and the first half of it is reproductions of the original Crimebuster. So you get the comics from the 50s, and then you get a story from my friend. You get a new colorized version of his continuation of the Crimebuster. It's a great story. It's a lot of fun. It's two-fisted kind of Hardy Boy, Scooby-Doo sort of action. So if you like Golden Age comics, give it a shot. Crimebusters. There you go, Scott. You're welcome. Okay.
Yeah, I've read those issues, and they're pretty good. Scott is a very talented writer.
He is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a comic nut. I've never heard of Crimebuster, but it's something I need to check out, obviously. So it definitely looks very cool.
We'll definitely put a link in the description below.
All right.
Right on.
There you have it, just in time for August.
Getting right in there.
That was a squeaker.
Yes, everyone, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And we'll see you next month. Take care.